Okay. Good evening, councillors, council officers, community members in attendance tonight. I also want to welcome Councillor Greco, who's joined online, and any other members of the public who are attending online and those viewing the live streaming. My name's Councillor Christine Olaris. I'm the Mayor of Darebin City Council and Chairperson of tonight's meeting. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the council meeting tonight, and I declare this meeting open at 6:10 p.m. The meeting is being live streamed and a recording will be made available on council's website as soon as practicable after the meeting. I would like to start by acknowledging the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, the traditional owners of this land. I recognise their continuing connection to land, to waters and to culture, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge all councillors, our executive leadership team, staff and the municipal monitors who are joining us this evening. We have no apologies to the meeting this evening. Before we commence, I would just like to take a moment to express Darebin Council's deepest condolences to the Macedonian community following the devastating nightclub fire in Kočani. This recent tragic incident took the lives of at least 59 people, and there were nearly 200 others injured, some of them quite badly, and most of whom are young people. It's deeply shaken the community, both in Kočani and here in Darebin as well. The grief is especially heavy as so many young people's lives were cut short. Darebin is home to a large and close-knit Macedonian community, and Councillor Boglis and I have had many residents reach out to us, as have some of the other councillors, but I guess being also from the Macedonian community, we wanted, Councillor Boglis and I wanted to let you know that we share your pain. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the Victorian Government who have lit up Fed Square and NGV in the Macedonian red and yellow, and Nathan Lambert, member for Reservoir and Preston, who acknowledged the tragic incident in Parliament. Our thoughts are with the Macedonian community at this incredibly difficult time, and that's the thoughts of the entire Darebin City Council. In times of sorrow, it's so important that we stand together in support and solidarity. Thank you. Councillor Boglis.
Through you, Mayor, I would like to raise a procedural motion to suspend the standing orders for the chambers to observe a minute's silence out of respect to the Kočani community, to honour the young Macedonian people who lost their lives in the recent fires. It is in times like these that we are reminded of the deep importance of standing together in support of the Macedonian community, both locally in Darebin and overseas.
Thank you, Councillor Boglis. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Salkos. I need a vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. So how do we do this? A minute's silence. Would you like to stand? Would you like to stand? Yeah, okay. We'll stand for a minute's silence. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, So I need to now call for standing orders to resume, I believe. Can I have someone put forward that procedural motion? Councillor Boglis? The motion being that standing orders be resumed? Yep. Okay. Can I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. And putting it to the vote, those in favour? Hooray. Okay, well, that's unanimous. We are now on to disclosures of conflicts of interest. If any councillor or relevant staff member has a conflict of interest in relation to a matter on tonight's agenda, they need to disclose the conflict of interest and the nature of the conflict of interest. And I also remind you that you need to declare these conflicts twice, so both now and then prior to the matter being considered. So councillors and officers, are there any conflicts of interest to declare? Councillor Gaetano, I'm just checking you can hear us? You can't. Okay, I do believe that Councillor Goroko will have a conflict in relation to their childcare item, so we might need to manage that as we get closer to that item. Okay, the other thing to just remember is during the course of the meeting, if any motion or amendment is put forward that gives rise to a conflict of interest that you weren't aware of at this point in time, you need to then declare that then. Okay, so we'll move forward. Confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. Councillors, can I have a mover for the adoption of the minutes of the ordinary meeting, which was held on the 3rd of March 2025? Councillor Arturi, seconder. Councillor Salkos. I'll put that motion to the vote. So all those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. So the sixth item on the agenda is Council's occupational health and safety responsibilities. Like all employers, Council has an occupational health and safety responsibility to all of its staff and councillors here tonight, but also to everyone in this meeting. So that's about being safe both physically and also emotionally. It's great to see everyone here this evening, and I'd like to remind everyone in attendance to be respectful of each other. And as outlined in our governance rules, please note the following. So we do need silence to be preserved at all times through the meeting. So obviously if you're getting up to speak, to ask a question that's been approved, that's of course fine. But otherwise, if people can please remain silent throughout the meeting. A councillor or any other person who addresses the meeting must do so in a courteous and respectful manner and must take direction from myself as the chairperson whenever called upon to do so. Anyone attending the meeting should not utter any offensive language, any insulting or indecent language, objectionable words, and anything that might be considered sexist or homophobic, or interject or gesticulate offensively in the council chamber. Sorry, that one does make me giggle, but it shouldn't. But I just hope that would never happen. If anyone engages in conduct that is improper or disorderly, the chairperson may direct that person to cease their conduct, and that person must comply with that direction. So, thank you. We're up to public question time. So, we have allowed 30 minutes for public question time. If we exceed that time, then I will ask for a procedural motion to extend the question time for another up to 30 minutes. In line with Council's governance rules, no questions will be taken from people in the gallery unless they've been submitted by 12 p.m. today. You can only ask 3 questions and cannot speak for any more than the allotted 2 minutes. Be mindful, this is question time only. Be mindful this is question time, so only ask your questions, not make a statement. Questions relating to notice of motions, petitions or urgent business will not be accepted in accordance with our governance rules. For members of the public who have registered a question in person or online, I will name you when it's your time. For those, when I call your name, I'll invite you to come to the lectern, or if you're online, do we have anyone online tonight? Yes. Unmute your microphone to state your name and ask your question. And the relevant general manager will usually be the person who provides a response. If you call your name and I don't respond, then we will take it that you're not in the gallery. One of our officers will read the question out on your behalf, and the relevant GM will provide a response regardless of whether you are here or not. We have received a number of questions to a range of issues at Edwards Lake. And so in accordance with, and many of them were very similar, so in accordance with Council's governance rules, these questions have been grouped together, and the person who submitted the first question gets asked to come forward and read their question, and a single response will then be given to answer all of the questions, all of the like questions. Okay, that's me. So we will go to the questions. The first person is Sandra Lee. Sandra's not here tonight, so I'll get Jodie perhaps to read out the question, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Sandra has two questions. The first is Council aware of the results from the recent Amplify study on housing reform, where 94% of respondents were shown to approve of upzoning? And does Council intend to act with greater conviction and urgency on this and similar studies, which show both that the majority of residents are in favour of increasing housing density, housing availability and public transport access, and that increasing housing density and reducing sprawl would overwhelmingly be a net positive for the city and the majority of its residents?
Thank you. Carolyn is going to answer this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, for the questions. I wasn't aware of the Amplify studies. Thank you for sharing it. Last year, Council consulted the community on its draft Darebin housing strategy. Housing continues to be a priority for Council through its own planning work and through advocacy. Council's draft housing strategy aims to increase housing growth and diversity in the most accessible parts of the municipality close to existing services, facilities, and public transport. Amongst other things, the strategy recommends upzoning land in these locations to increase residential densities in existing urban areas. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question is by Barbara Trow, who I believe is here. Barbara, would you like to come up to the lectern? Yeah. So just a reminder that you've got 3 questions, 2 minutes.
I have a question about agenda item 9.5, submission to the parliamentary inquiry into the redevelopment of public housing. Darebin Council's proposal for more public housing does not challenge the government's demolition policy, which is environmentally and economically unsound. Will Darebin Council express opposition to the demolition of the Home Street public housing tower unless there is an independent and cost-quantified structural, engineering and architectural assessment of the suitability of the Home Street tower for retrofitting refurbishment of the building, coupled with an additional infill of new dwellings?
Thank you, Barbara. Carolyn.
Mm-hmm. Barbara, thank you for your question. I guess all I can share on this is that the topic is going to be considered by Council tonight, so I would encourage you to listen to the debate. Thank you.
Nicole Brown is not attending, so I'm going to get Jodie to read that out.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Nicole has 3 questions. The first is, can the feasibility study for Edward Street, Henty Street and Gilbert Road be expedited, given ongoing concerns about pedestrian safety and heavy traffic in the area? Number 2, will the study aim to address resident concerns regarding the lack of safe pedestrian crossing options near Edwards Lake and J.E. Moore Park, as well as traffic management updates, including the removal of the Henty Street Gilbert Road roundabout, speed reductions and/or the installation of speed bumps on Henty Street? And could you clarify how proposed pedestrian safety measures, like walk crossings or traffic lights, might impact traffic flow, and what alternatives are being considered to balance pedestrian safety with traffic efficiency?
Thank you to Nicole. Carolyn gets to answer this one again.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole, for your questions. So I'll tackle them one by one. For the first question about the feasibility study for Edward Street and Henty Street and Gilbert Road, what we would encourage you to do is to submit a submission. So Council will consider its draft capital budget for next financial year in April. So community can make a submission during May. In relation to question 2, the type and location of road safety improvements, it is typically done through Council's Your Street, Your Say program. The Gilbert-Henty Street roundabout has been identified for improvements. There is currently no endorsed project to install speed humps along Henty Street. In relation to question 3, Council is working to improve safety for everyone. This is being achieved by introducing safer speeds and making changes on the road where people are crossing. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have, that's gone. We now have Natalie Barnett, who I believe should be in the room. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, for hearing my question. I would like to know what the Council plans to do about illegal fishing at Edwards Lake, as I have personally seen the devastating consequence it has on the wildlife in that area.
Carolyn.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. So I'll start by sharing that Council officers routinely patrol Edwards Lake Park, both inside and outside of business hours, to ensure that there is compliance to the local law and the Domestic Animal Act. So there are currently signs to prohibit fishing, but we know that those signs are not really good enough. We know that they're not doing the job, and it's probably the same for motorized vehicle. So we know that we are aware of that, and we're working on it on different fronts. So we've got, at the moment, a small number of infringements that have been issued in Edward Lake Park in the last 12 months. Generally, the way that we prefer dealing with those types of issues is by education to park visitors. So tonight, Council is considering a draft local law that will go out for public exhibition if endorsed by Council. If it is adopted, this set of law will make fishing more explicitly prohibited, which will allow better signage. And the local laws also would help Council have better tools to address those types of behaviours and endorse the local laws. We will support those new local laws with the community education campaign.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. We've got David Taylor here. David, please come up.
Thank you, Mayor. My 2 questions relate to the Darebin Creek Management Committee matter. The Local Government Act at section 110 refers to councils being able to become a member of a corporation such as DCMC and make payment of subscription fees. At its Rule 11 and elsewhere, DCMC is allowed to apply membership subscription fees. This derives from Schedule 1 of the Associations and Corporation Reform Act 2012. In the view of Council, would the levying of an annual subscription by DCMC on Darebin Council fall outside Council's procurement policy because it would not amount to procurement and therefore also not infringe the 2022 VAGO recommendation regarding recurrent grant recipients? 2, can Council, in its investigation of options under the resolution of 24 February 2025 at point 3, also investigate the option of DCMC being funded to its current extent via annual subscription fees, perhaps with industry benchmarking, rather than the recurrent grant arrangement that VAGO has deemed insufficiently transparent?
Thank you. Rachel Olivia will answer this.
Thanks, through you, Mayor. Thank you, David, for the question. We haven't specifically looked at that particular question, so we haven't formed a particular view about it. It's quite a different approach to the current arrangement that Council funds the DCMC through. We can and we do pay several subscriptions or membership fees to organisations. For example, Council's a member of the Municipal Association of Victoria. However, the examples I'm aware of are at much lower levels of funding than Council's current funding for DCMC, and they're quite a different nature of the services that we're talking about. I will, though, investigate, as you've suggested, that option, and we will include information about that in the report that comes back to Council. That report's scheduled for August, so we will look at it then. Just for others who might be watching, it is worth being clear that the DCMC is a legally separate organisation from Council, and some of the questions that relate to this matter are really things for DCMC itself to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Carmen Lahif Jenkins has a question. She's not attending tonight, so I'm hoping Jodie will read that one out.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. And just noting that Carmen had also submitted a question in regards to the fishing. This is her other question. Does Council intend to ramp up action against cat owners who do not have control of the wanderings of their pets? I've recently seen a letter drafted to local community in the Moonee Valley LGA regarding cats and the curfew. It was very persuasive, and I implore Council to review it and this strategy and apply more rigorous safeguards for wildlife.
Carolyn?
Thank you, and thank you for the question, Carmen. So Darebin has a nighttime cat curfew in place, which applies from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 7 days a week, all year long. We're always looking at ways to encourage compliance with local and state laws. This year, Council will undertake consultation for the Domestic Animal Management Plan, which guides Council's animal management activities for the next 4 years. So we would really encourage residents to engage with that consultation process and provide feedback to their experiences with domestic animals in Darebin. That's the best way to work with us on that. Thank you.
And there's a question from Jackie Evans. Jodie, if you could read out.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Jackie also submitted a question about the fishing at Edwards Lake. Her other question is, are Council aware of young people who are riding motorised bikes in and around Edwards Lake Park?
Thank you. So this response is fairly similar to the one that I gave earlier on fishing. Council is aware of activity which would breach the local law that involves motorised vehicle in Edwards Lake Park. Council officers routinely patrol Edwards Lake Park both during the week and after hours. Council is considering a new local law tonight, which is on the agenda, and what we know is this draft local law addresses activities in reserves, like the use of these vehicles, and would provide a better tool to address unsafe behaviours.
Thank you. Matthew Zammit. I believe Matthew's here in person. Matthew here? No. Perhaps, Jodie, could you read Matthew's question?
Through you, Mayor. Matthew had submitted 3 questions. The first, has Darebin Council consulted with the Darebin Disability Advisory Committee in relation to the decision to trial hire e-scooters on Darebin streets? Does Darebin Council retain records of how many contact plans it issues as part of its complaints handling policy? And if so, how many such contact plans were issued by Council between January 1, 2021 and 1 January 2025? And it appears as though a segment of Darebin Ordinary Council meeting on 29 April 24 has been edited out of the meeting video just after public question time. What is the reason for this editing of the meeting video, and what reasons or powers does Council have to edit or redact video transcripts of meeting proceedings that otherwise appeared in the live stream of the meeting?
So, Carolyn, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, for your questions. So on question 1, officers are currently working on implementing Council's decision on the e-scooter trial, and they recently discussed their work with the Darebin Disability Advisory Committee. On question 2 about the contact plans, so at the moment, Council has a policy that's called a complaints handling policy, and that policy has a section about dealing with what's called unreasonable complainant behaviour. So based on that policy, Council may establish restrictions in the way someone can access Council officers or premises, and that is to maintain safety for staff and other community members. At the moment, and under this policy, there is no centralized record for the whole of Council as to how many of those restrictions we've put in place. What we can share, though, is that there are 3 formal restrictions on access that have been created over the last couple of years through the Office of the CEO. I would also share that Council is soon to implement a new complex customer behavior policy. So this is to help us deal better with those kind of situations. And that through this new policy, we will have formal contact plans in place with a centralized record. And the third question about the live stream, so Council did edit the live stream recording following a request by a member of the community. Council assessed this request, and under the particular circumstances, it was deemed appropriate. This is a particular power that Council has as part of managing Council meetings, and decisions like these are made on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see we have Warwick Blackmore, who is online about to ask a question. Warwick, go ahead. Warwick, I think you're on mute. We can't hear you. I'm very sorry, Warwick. We're going to have to read your question out. We're having tech issues. So we'll get Jodie to read the question.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Warwick's question is, has Council considered or investigated the installation of physical litter traps or netting to protect our local waterways from rubbish washed into them through stormwater drains?
Rachel, can you answer that one, please?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thanks, Warwick. We have, in fact, got 26 of them, all sorts of different sizes and in different parts of the catchment across the city.
Okay, thank you. Leon Zimbekas, attending in person. Thank you, Leon. Remember, you've got 3 questions and 2 minutes. Thank you.
Everybody. My first issue was in 2023, I asked council to purchase a library book, which they did, and I read that book. I then discovered that book wasn't in the shelves. About a year later, I was told that it was defaced and up for repair. Then I inquired how that repair is progressing. Then I was told that it was going to be disposed of because it was badly defaced, and I asked that book to be replaced because I found it to be a valuable book for the community to read. And I wrote a number of requests to be told what those defacings were and to repurchase, and I haven't had a response from council. Question number 2, the carp in our waterways are killing many of our native fish species. Federal and state laws are clear that carp have to be removed in waterways. I spoke to the Victorian Fisheries Authority and expressed that Darebin Council has a position of, and Darebin Greens have a position of keeping the carp in the water, as many discussions I've had in branch. Victorian Fisheries Authority told me that they contacted Darebin Council and they urged me to write to the council and request permission to fish. I did that over a week ago, and council needs to take seriously habitat. So I'd like a response on where that's progressing.
Okay. Have we got Nina who's going to answer the first part of the question?
Thank you, through Mayor. Thank you, Leon, for the question. I want to assure you that a library representative will provide a response to you on your specific request by the end of this week. We've heard that you haven't received a response to your query. My apologies, and I want to assure you that we will provide one by the end of the week. Darebin Library's collection development guidelines are used when selecting material for the collection. Selection criteria included relevance and appeal to the community, authority and reputation of author, currency and accuracy of content, cost, date of publication and availability, and existing subject coverage in the collection. The library receives many customer requests, and for any items that aren't purchased, and all purchases are based on the criteria, but for items not purchased, they can be obtained via interlibrary loan if available at another library service. I'd also like to share that Darebin City Council is proud of the many LGBTIQA+ people, their families and communities who live, work and play in our municipality. Our Towards Equality, Equity, Inclusion and Human Rights framework guides Council's work in addressing barriers to equity and inclusion in the community. It goes above and beyond our legislated responsibilities and places Council at the forefront in tackling disadvantage, inequity and exclusion. Council is also working on a future LGBTIQA+ action plan to further support the inclusion, rights and wellbeing of this community and gender diversity across Council as a place. Thank you.
And I think Rachel can answer the second question.
Thanks, through you, Mayor, and thanks for the question, Leon. Certainly we agree that carp are a problematic pest, but Darebin doesn't allow fishing at Edwards Lake Park. And some of the key reasons are because the water isn't safe to enter and the fish isn't safe to eat. We also ask everyone to pursue the passions for biodiversity. In terms of more broadly how we might approach the pest challenge of carp, that's something I've asked for a bit more information about from the team, and we'll come back to you in the next fortnight.
We have Susan Newton attending virtually. How much time? We might just go for a procedural motion before we jump to you? Sorry, Susan. She can't hear us either. Can we have a, thank you, Julie. State the motions, Chris. Yep, thank you. And seconder, Mataturi. Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Suzanne, can you hear us? Yeah, but we can't hear you. Gaetano, you can hear us? Oh.
He's just messaged.
Just bear with us a minute. I'll see if there's anything we can do. What's the join audio down there? Should that be on? Sorry? Join audio down there.
Recording in progress.
This is
Suzanne, can you say something, see if we can hear you? Yes. Yay. Oh, a little bit. Should I speak up? No, it's not right. Sorry, I think we're going to have to read the question out for you. Thank you, Jodie.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Suzanne had two questions. Will Council be removing posters on Council-owned childcare centres, such as Mary Common Community Childcare Centre, that are currently advertising the state MP for the area? And what context has changed since April 2024 when offices were open to Council endorsing the plant-based treaty?
Thank you, Callan.
Hi, Suzanne, and thank you for your questions. So in relation to the first question, thank you so much for bringing this matter to our attention. The team will investigate. About the second question, the officer's report included in tonight's agenda shares growing concerns and challenges for our community accessing food. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Okay. We have Timmy Gwynham attending in person. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mayor. I'm speaking about, or I'm asking about item 9.5 in relation to the Council's submission on the decision by the government to demolish housing towers. As noted in the Council Officer's report to this meeting, this is a quote, no feasibility studies or technical reports have been provided to demonstrate that full redevelopment is the most appropriate or necessary option for the towers, including One Home Street, which is in this council area. Furthermore, it goes on to state that it is unclear if alternative approaches such as refurbishment or retrofitting were explored. Can the council please explain how the Darebin Council's focus on more public housing in its submission to the Victorian Government's inquiry into this actually challenges the government's policy to demolish the tower at Home Street? That's my first question. My second question is, can the council also please explain whether the sole focus on more public housing without acknowledging the need to oppose the government's policy to demolish the 44 public housing towers is in accordance with the wishes of the Darebin community and the current residents of the Holmes Street towers? Thank you.
Thank you. And Carolyn?
Thank you so much, Timmy, for your question. Again, this is a topic that will be considered by Council tonight, so I would encourage you to listen to the debate. Thank you.
The next question is by John Nugent, who is not attending this evening. So, Jodie, could you please read out John's questions?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. John has submitted 3 questions. Could you please advise when Council will do some improvements to the gardens on the corners of High Street and Kramer Street outside the Council building? The gardens look untidy and there is only patchy grass. This garden was the pride of the Preston Central Business District. Could you please advise me when the unsealed pavement will receive some overdue maintenance on it? The weeds are overgrowing the pathway and need widening again. When will this work be done? And there was a petition with 125 signatures who requested this pathway to be sealed, and there is $4.8 million in the development fund. And finally, my questions are about ovals 3 and 5 on Donouth West. These ovals have very little grass on them. They look dry and dusty. What is Council going to do to bring these ovals back to the good playing order?
Thanks to John for those questions. Rachel, would you like to answer these?
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I will. So the native gardens out the front of this building include several local species. They are sometimes mistaken for weeds, some of those species. While the grass could be greener and the plantings refreshed more often, the level of maintenance is a good standard. And it balances sort of the service level with the cost effectiveness considerations. At this site, there's a 3-week weed control cycle, which last occurred on the 11th to the 13th of March, and pruning and debris clearing occurs weekly. The last time was today. In terms of the unsealed pavement, John, we understand you're referring to the pavement around the Donouth Dole sports grounds. The teams worked on the granitic sand track at Donouth Reserve from July to September 2024 and rectified that. We'll be back again July to September this year to look at that again. The petition that you previously tabled was responded to in May, and Council's position and response hasn't changed since that time. And your final question about ovals 3 and 5 on Donouth West. These grounds were dry for a short time this summer. We had an irrigation failure, which has now been fixed. It was unfortunately a week where the temperature hit 35 degrees for several days. We do expect now the irrigation's working and with cooler weather ahead that the grass will re-establish, and we'll monitor that and adjust the watering and management if we need to. Generally, the grounds meet Council's expected standard, and there are ongoing maintenance programs to keep them in good shape.
Thank you. We're up to submissions. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. I think it's always very handy, very useful for us councillors to hear your concerns. So thank you for those. We are up to submissions. Do we have Suzanne Newton still? Okay.
Maybe we could just check with Councillor Greco to see if he can talk to us and we can hear him. I think he can hear us.
Hi, Michael. Yes, I can hear you at the moment. It's a bit patchy, but I can hear you.
Great.
You're loud and clear, which is a wonderful thing. So I think Suzanne's trying another laptop to come back in. Just give her a sec. We could jump to petitions.
Yeah, we might go to petitions. We've got. Okay, can I have a procedural motion to change the order of the business? Councillor Salkos?
Did you need me to read it out?
Yeah.
That the order of business be amended.
Thank you. Anyone second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Jelly. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And that's unanimous for those. We're going for a procedural motion to change the order while we're organising some online stuff? Okay, thank you. That's carried unanimously. That's okay. So we're going to just go to the petition that we have tonight. Councillor O'Brien, I believe you're going to present this petition.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I seek to table a petition titled Revive Johnson Park, Let's Bring It Back to Life, to be referred to the CEO for consideration and response. The petition complies with the governance rules and has been signed by 10 people, in addition to having approximately 400 supporters online. I'd like to commend the quality, evidence-based information shared in the petition and express my gratitude to the community, especially Ruth and Matt Clare, for their roles in coordinating this effort and navigating the governance rules to submit it. Johnson Park is a highly valued, but to the despair of local residents, it's been in decline over the years, with large dust patches growing, stressed vegetation throughout, and a notable loss of tree canopy. The issues raised in this petition are concerning in relation to our commitments here in Darebin. It references the climate emergency plan that emphasises the importance of caring for country and creating natural environments that are diverse, resilient and thriving. Breathing Space, our open space strategy, categorises Johnson Park as a Type A park, serving a catchment of over 10,000 people within 500 metres. The strategy highlights the vital role of well-maintained park and open spaces in combating climate change and meeting the needs of residents, especially as open space in our homes becomes more limited. The petition speaks to ongoing issues spanning over 20 years, a lack of consistent maintenance impacting the plans and presentation of the park, and the dedication of local volunteers who have taken on weeding and planting efforts to support the potential of the park. The background details shares 2014 tree assessment that identified 99 trees in the park, and a more recent review that documents a significant tree loss and decline in quality canopy cover in the area. The petition asks for a number of actions that help revive the park, including a new master plan to ensure improvements work toward a cohesive vision that meets community needs, planting, watering and mulching strategies to support vegetation, and additional amenity change that would broaden the appeal to other users. As a council, I believe that we can do more to care for our existing open spaces, to support healthy trees and vegetation, to keep our neighbourhoods cool, reduce pollution and increase biodiversity. Benefits that are all essential for our mental health and physical well-being and for our precious wildlife. Johnson Park is a crucial asset, and it's time...
Sorry, I should have stopped you earlier, but you're supposed to be sticking to the text of the petition. Is that what you're doing at the moment?
Not the exact text, I'm talking to the content.
So it's the text is what you're supposed to talk to. Yeah, sorry.
I need to check earlier, sorry. I've spoken about the master plan, planting and maintenance strategies, new plantings to anticipate future tree loss, improved long-term watering strategies, improved and regular mulching of existing trees, more engaging adventurous play experience such as a cubbies, playhouse and water play in addition to existing playground, increased seating, picnic facilities adjacent to the rotunda and barbecue noise softened basketball half court. Yes, thank you. And just a little bit of feedback from the providers of the petition as well, that we have a look at the process to try and make that a little bit clearer for people, which is something we have been discussing. So yeah, I recommend this petition to the Chamber. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a seconder for the petition. Councillor Jelly. I now call on Ruth Clare. Is Ruth here to speak to? So Ruth is the submitter of the petition. And Ruth, you've got 2 minutes to talk to it. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for your excellent summary of our document. That was a really good piece of background. Inside that document, you will see some photographic evidence that we and our community have gathered to show the absolutely dire state of that park. It's basically a dust bowl, and the tree plan that was mentioned shows just how many trees have been lost and not replaced over the years, and outlines the fact that if trees do get replaced in that park because nobody comes and looks after the park, they just often die, which is a waste of resources as well. So what we're really looking for is for council to pay an interest, and I heard somebody else here tonight talking about another park, and I heard, yes, it might not be a priority, but you look around Darebin City Council parks as a general vibe, and then you go to other councils as a general vibe, and some are green. They're not in our little neck of the woods, they're in other areas of Melbourne. And I guess I just want to know, I think, specifically this petition is for Johnson Park, but it feels like more broadly, the parks in this area do not seem to be a priority. They certainly don't reflect a priority. A lot of them have dust. A lot of them are not, looked after. We've had some recent activity in this particular park based on the number of complaints because it was just basically a dirt pile, but it shouldn't get to this state. And if other councils can do it, I don't understand why this council can't.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
Thank you.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, Ruth. And we are developing the council plan at the moment, so items like this are really good to hear, get us thinking. So I now put the motion to the vote, and really the motion is that the petition be referred to the CEO for consideration and response. So all those in favour? That's carried unanimously. So thank you. Okay, we're up to reports now. The first one is about 2 Wingrove Street, Alphington. It's the future use of a... Oh, sorry, is Suzanne back? She is. Can you try speaking, Suzanne?
Yes, Mayor and Loris, can you hear me?
We can, yay.
Great, I've swapped laptops.
Fantastic. Okay, Susan Newton is here to put forward a submission. So I think I will let you go ahead. I understand you want to do that now, not at the time right before the application. Okay, so this is on the plant-based treaty, is that correct? Yep.
Yes.
So go ahead, Susan.
Thank you. It's Suzanne here. Councillors, I urge you to continue to endorse the plant-based treaty. Darebin Council became a national leader in this space as the very first city to endorse in Australia last year, joining Florida and Los Angeles in the US, Edinburgh and Moncton in the UK, Belfast in Northern Ireland, Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and 15 cities across India to be leaders in a significant global movement to address and reduce emissions from food. And sorry about the background noise. Just 9 months ago, all 9 Darebin councillors, including the councillors seeking to now remove the endorsement of the treaty for political reasons, unanimously voted to endorse the plant-based treaty. This included councillors from Italian, Greek and Indian backgrounds. We've just had another summer of extreme weather events, disastrous bushfires in California, weather records broken, the climate movements are getting worse and worse. Now is not the time for Darebin to roll back its commitments to global movements to reduce carbon emissions. Darebin led the world with its world-leading climate emergency declaration in 2016 and have since taken practical action to address it, such as building the first gas-free indoor aquatic centre in Australia, and have taken steps to reduce emissions from food already, providing every household a green bin where leftovers are turned into compost. Councillors, if you backflip on the endorsement councillors already made to endorse the you're sending a clear and significant signal to the Darebin community. The message will be that Darebin has turned its back on seeking to reduce emissions and address the climate emergency with all its might. That significant global movements to reduce emissions are no longer important to the new council. Since Darebin formally endorsed in June, multiple cities in Canada, the US, Portugal, Gambia and India have joined the movement. 230,000 individuals have endorsed the treaty, and this is the right side of history. Councillors, your vote tonight will be remembered, and make sure you vote for the planet, for current residents and future ones. Think about what you can tell your grandchildren. When it mattered, did you take the action needed to address the climate emergency, or did you play politics with their future? The choice is in your hands, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So now we will move on. So thank you very much. We're going to consideration of reports, and we are now coming to 2 Wingrove Street, Alphington, the future use of a concrete slab. Councillors, do you have any questions of the officers regarding this item? Councillor Dimitriadis.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I just wanted to ask that the report states that an independent engineer is engaged to provide a formal assessment, which is expected to be finalised in the coming weeks. My question is, why is Council making a decision before this formal assessment is provided to Council?
Through you, Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor. That's correct. So we do have some anecdotal evidence back from that report. The report itself hasn't been tabled yet, and it is aligning with the concerns that expressed by staff who have done an assessment of the condition of that slab. So that report will be coming to Council at some stage as part of the feasibility and master planning for the site, but it does seem to be lining up with the internal advice that's been provided.
Councillor Dimitriadis.
Just a further question. Would removing the concrete slab result in any negative environmental impacts?
Through you, Mayor. Ideally, no, Councillor. So the idea is that the slab would be removed in a way that is in line with the contamination considerations on the site, and it would be carefully managed, which is part of the contract to make good. The clause within the existing contract is to require that it is made good to a standard that Council agrees to, which would, of course, be in line with the EPA requirements.
Are there any other questions? Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor. Just in terms of the dollar figure presented in the report about the estimated cost to make good, how certain are we about that figure, or how much risk is there potentially in it being more than that figure?
Through you, Mayor. We're relatively confident in that figure, Councillor O'Brien. So the team have done quite a bit of pressure testing in regards to contingencies, allowing allocation for contamination, for removal of other products other than concrete. And we've also done some assessments of the depth of the concrete, which has a big impact on the price. So because it's variable, we can't 100% say that that's correct, but the costs are quite significant as outlined in the report.
Any other questions? Okay. Oh, sorry. Councillor Greco.
Thank you, Mayor. Just through you, just want to ask, are there any consequences if a decision is not made tonight in regards to the item before us? What would be the implications for Council?
Thank you.
So if Council didn't make a decision tonight, what we would do is contact the outgoing lessee and essentially ask them if they're willing to agree to an extension to give you time to then make a decision. I would think there's a high chance that they would agree to an extension, but it would be up to them, and I can't predict what their response would be.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, do we have a mover for the motion? Yep, go ahead. Councillor Sangster.
Yes, so I'd like to move the officer's recommendation in its entirety.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Jelly. Does the mover wish to speak?
Yes, thank you. So, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation in its entirety, which allows MFM the opportunity to take over slab ownership and make good obligations if they so choose, and which does not set a time frame around how long MFM has to consult among their many hardworking and passionate community-minded members to explore what options might be possible for them, but names that if they choose not to take responsibility for the slab, that Council ensures that the current owner of the slab complies with all obligations of their licence, including those concerning the removal of the slab and the make good of the site. Any alternative to this recommendation risks council being hit with a minimum debt of 370k and possibly more, given inflation down the track, as well as ongoing contaminated soil issues which may lead to public and ecological health and safety risks in the future.
Does the seconder wish to speak? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to explain for the public and people watching this, this is not normally a decision that would ordinarily come to council. This is almost leaning on the operational side of things, but the effect of a notice of motion that came to council in December has meant that decisions such as this are actually presented to us. So it's a little bit unusual, and that's in that case. Nonetheless, it's up to us to ensure that good governance is undertaken here. And in doing so, we must seek assurance that the Melbourne Farmers Market actually has the capacity to remove the slab when it reaches the end of its life, if it decides that it wants to make use of this concrete slab. And if that's not the case, if through this process Melbourne Farmers Market confirms that it's not actually able to provide a surety that it can actually undertake that removal work, then it's actually the onus then defaults back to the current owner of that concrete slab to make good those provisions as has been described tonight. So this is actually an act of good governance. The matter of timing that's been raised in questions, I believe, is something that I think can be managed. There's no set timeline in the motion, so I don't believe there's any issues or concerns on that front. So I commend the motion to councillors.
Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the motion? Councillor Dimitriadis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be abstaining on this matter for a number of reasons. Firstly, according to the report, there is no immediate rush to remove the concrete slab other than the deadline for the prior site occupant, which was Fulton's, to remove and dispose of the slab by the 30th of June 2025. And given this, and that the independent engineer's report about this site has not been finalised, I believe council could hold off on this decision to remove the slab until the report comes back to council in the upcoming weeks, especially to identify if there are any environmental impacts. We can solidly identify any impacts from the removing the concrete slab, and whether the slab can be repurposed or modified to meet community and council needs. Furthermore, we've been told that an EOI process will be occurring very soon to investigate if any external organisations, and that's not just the MFM, have an interest in any part or the whole of the 2 Wingrove Street site, including the large concrete slab. In this instance, I believe it will be beneficial for council to wait on the outcome of this EOI process to identify if an organisation would take on this large part of the site at their own expense in the short or long term. Moreover, if a reference group will be created to inform discussions about the future of 2 Wingrove Street, I believe they should also have a say in this matter, and as the removal of the concrete slab would impact the whole site. Consequently, I'll be abstaining from this item.
Does anyone else wish to speak to this item? Yes, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. Just briefly, I guess, to acknowledge that the number of things that Councillor Dimitriadis has just outlined shows the complexity that sits behind this. This site has so much potential, as we know, but I think we have a lot of balls in the air. We need to get our ducks in a row, lots of other sayings, but I think there's just too many uncertainties in a lot of these timelines for it to line up for us to make an alternative decision. What we have before us gives the option to the farmers market to opt in if it does suit them. And I think that's the main ask from them at this stage. So we do give that option to them through this motion, and we save ourselves from all of the uncertainties and the rest of the timelines associated with the rest of the activities in this space, so that we don't end up wearing this large cost as a council. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Arturi.
Thanks, Mayor, and I think all the councillors who've spoken previously on this item have covered it off quite nicely. But I guess there's a balance to be struck here in terms of giving MFM the opportunity to the opportunity in relation to the concrete slab, but ultimately the question is whether council is prepared to potentially take on a, you know, I'm going to round it up to 400,000 liability. What we've heard and what's clear from the report and the advice that we've received from officers in response to questions is that whilst it could be less, it also could be more. So I think ultimately it's I think a prudent decision to make.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, I'll just check in if the mover wants to write a reply at all. Does the mover want to write a reply at all?
Yes, I'll have a right of reply. Thank you. Just wanting to, some issues have been raised and around the possible damage that might occur environmentally if the slab is removed. We have been assured by the officers that all care will be taken and that experts will be in place to ensure that this environmental damage doesn't take place, and that actually environmental damage could take place the longer that the contamination is sitting in the soil. We've also been told that the slab cannot be repurposed as it is badly damaged, so I think it's disingenuous to suggest that that is an option.
Okay, I'm going to take this to the vote then. So all those in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. So that's Councillor Arturi, Councillor Boglis, Councillor Jelly, Councillor O'Brien, Councillor Sangster, Councillor Solkos and myself. Oh, and Councillor Greco. I'm so sorry, Councillor Greco. And those against, those abstaining is Councillor Dimitriadis. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on to the leasing of kindergartens is the next item, and childcare centres.
Mayor, if I may interrupt, I would like to declare a conflict of interest in relation to this item. I was not able to do that at the outset of the meeting because of the sound problems, so I'll declare that conflict of interest now. And my conflict is a direct conflict, as my partner is an early childhood educator employed in one of the Darebin Council supporter centres, and as a result of that, I'll leave the meeting or rather log off and until this matter is resolved by council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Greco. I think you don't need to log off. You just can't participate in the debate. So if you could just turn your microphone and your camera off, and we will. Thank you. You could watch it online afterwards anyway, so there's not a lot of point. Okay, so do councillors have any questions of officers regarding this item? No? No? Okay, do we have a mover of the motion? Yeah, Councillor Dimitriadis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation with option 6C.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Jelly. Would the mover like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And firstly, I'd like to start off by saying how disappointed I am that we are here tonight still not having implemented the resolution of December 2023. Following proposed changes to the early years services leasing costs in 2023, there was considerable groundswell from the early years services, as well as enormous advocacy from the community that led to the 18th of December council meeting, where councillors unanimously decided to enter into a 5-year lease with a further 5-year option with each of the 18 Early Years Services Association as per the current agreement. However, here we are nearly a year and a half later in March 2025 with the leases still not being signed. I'm disappointed, to say the least. Over the last few days, we have been contacted by various early years services, also expressing their disappointment with this process, stating that they have not been consulted, informed, or even notified of this matter coming to council, despite this decision having financial and operational impacts on the centres and not giving them adequate preparation time or input to the decision here tonight. I want to say thank you to each and every one of those centres for letting us know about their concerns and for continuing to advocate strongly for their futures, the futures of our children and all the staff and Darebin families. We hear you. So tonight I'm recommending that Council support option C, which will ensure that clause 4B and 4C of the agreement remain the same as they were operated during the prior lease term, so that Council does not impose unexpected financial burdens on centres. I hope all councillors can support this, and I hope that this will ensure these leases are secured and we can finally give all the 18 early years services the certainty they deserve. Thank you.
Does the seconder wish to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This motion essentially seeks to rectify an issue with the leasing, as Councillor Dimitriadis has pointed out. There's been a conflict between the terms of the lease and the actual application of the terms and conditions of the leases, and notwithstanding the issue of holding up the signing and implementation of these leases. So what we're seeking to do here is resolve a matter of who is actually going to cover the costs of building insurance and compliance with legislation relating to essential safety measures, as well as a small cost around security. And earlier today, I was able to confirm with council officers that during previous rounds of consultation with these early years services providers...
Recording in progress.
Thank you very much for confirming the recording is in progress. We did, so that council officers were able to confirm for me that consultation had broadly taken place on this, and there was a very strong indication from these early years service providers that they would not be able to absorb these costs. So I'm supporting this motion in favour of option C from the officer's recommendation, because as a unionist and as a feminist, I believe that affordable childcare and kindergarten services benefit the whole community, and hence it should be funded by all of us collectively. Pushing these costs onto non-profit kindergarten and childcare centres may result in those providers passing on those costs to the families that are using their services, which then places more pressure on families during a cost of living crisis, which is not something that I think any of us here in council wishes to pursue. So option C is the most viable option on most fronts, and it's a fairly, overall in terms of the council budgets, it's a fairly negligible cost in its totality. So I hope that everybody can get behind us and support this motion. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? Anyone want to speak against the motion? Okay. I just want to reiterate, apologies to any of the childcare centres who got a bit anxious about this motion, but I think really it was just about putting in place, with option C, the agreement that actually had been in place but not in a written format in the past. So I think it was something that had to come to council to be able to enable that to occur, and I do thank the staff who did a bit of contacting of the childcare centres after we realised that it had caused some anxiety. So not an ideal process, but I'm glad that we've got here to this point of putting this one to the vote. So I will do that now. All those in favour, please raise your hand, and that's carried unanimously. So thank you. Okay, 25 Edward Street Reservoir, that's the former police station. He's coming. So the former police station, expression of interest outcome. Are you with us, Councillor Greco? Yep, there he is.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, do I have a mover of a motion on this one? Councillor Boglis.
Thank you, Mayor, through you.
Sorry. Do I have a seconder? Or was that you, Councillor Arturi? Thank you. Okay, so would the mover like to speak?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. Before I do speak to this, though, I just noted point 3 speaks to the applicant. I believe now we can insert the name of the applicant. Oh, good, that's been added, great. Thank you. I rise tonight to move the officer's recommendation regarding the lease of 25 Edward Street Reservoir to Hands on Health. This motion represents not just an administrative decision, but a significant opportunity to invest in the health and wellbeing of our community. As we are all aware, the mental health and wellbeing needs of Darebin community members remain a pressing matter for our community. The past few years have placed immense strain on individuals and families across Darebin, with mental health services more in demand than ever before. Hands on Health present a unique and invaluable opportunity to fill a critical gap by providing access, community-driven support right here in Reservoir. By approving this lease, we enable a community-led initiative to establish a much-needed wellbeing hub that will offer essential services including mental health support, holistic healthcare and wellbeing programs tailored to the diverse needs of our residents, including financial counselling and creative programs that improve our loneliness and barriers to early intervention support. This initiative is not just about providing services, it's about fostering a space of connection, healing and a community-led and driven service so desperately needed in Reservoir, with nearby transportation for early access to the hub also. The proposed lease structure reflects Council's commitment to supporting social enterprises that deliver substantial community benefit. The arrangement ensures that Hands on Health Hub can invest their resources into upgrading the premises and establishing services without the burden of excessive lease costs. It is a model that leverages partnership to maximise social outcomes while managing Council's risk effectively. Furthermore, the recommended hybrid approach to this property upgrade strikes the right balance between cost efficiency and risk management. It ensures that essential safety and compliance measures are met while allowing Hands on Health to flexibly carry out the low-risk improvements efficiently. This is a responsible, strategic decision that will see the space activated by community benefit in a timely and sustainable manner. We are directly investing in the health and resilience of our residents. We are saying yes to proactive community-based solutions that will make a tangible difference in people's lives. I note, given my 20 years working across the mental health and non-for-profit sector, local council has a powerful role to play here in activating and supporting non-for-profits to utilise vacant council buildings and allowing co-located services to use these spaces as an early intervention initiative. Third spaces or more wellbeing hubs across high needs areas before our community members go into crisis. I encourage all my fellow councillors to support this motion so we can take crucial steps towards a healthier, more connected and more supported Darebin community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Douglas. Does the seconder wish to speak?
I'll reserve my right. Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor, sorry, can I just raise that the clock is not appearing again, so thank you.
Yep. Are there any councillors who wish to speak in opposition? Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, if there's, sorry, Councillor Greco.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd just like to say a few words in relation to this item. It's really encouraging to see that we've had an expression of interest process, and that somebody's actually come through that expression of interest process to take on the former police station. It's a real shame to see these community assets, council buildings, that have just been lying around for a couple of years now without them being utilised. So again, it's really encouraging that we can put some of these community assets to community purposes, as has already been mentioned. This is a great model. It's a great model because it's a model that is contrary to the easier street model that I would call of either selling off these assets or to the market, rather than actually partnering up with other organisations that can provide important community services very much where they need it. We know that in the northern part of our city, there is a a gap in relation to many community services, and this is a great example where the council could come in with a community not-for-profit organisation and serve the community. I look forward for this proposal going to the next step, and I believe that the next step will be a submission process where the community can actually make submissions in relation to the proposal that's been put forward, and hopefully we'll end up in the space where the centre is operating and where community services can be delivered out of that centre. And I'll just finish on this final note. There are many other community assets and buildings that the council has, particularly across the northern end of our city. And we should take this as a really good example on how we can utilise those community assets rather than selling them off, but put them to community use in partnership with other organisations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we're going to go to the vote. So all those in favour, please raise your hand. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, the next item is the local law draft exhibition. Local law draft exhibition. It's hard to say. Councillors, do you have any questions of the officers in relation to the draft? No questions? Okay, is there someone putting forward a motion? Councillor Arturi?
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, Mayor.
Do we have a seconder, Councillor Salkos? Does the mover wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. A few brief comments on this. Can I first start by thanking officers for all their work on the draft local law, in particular Shannon, who's in the chamber today, for his attention to detail and his advice on as we threw all kinds of weird and wacky hypotheticals his way, which he handled with professionalism and a lot of patience, I think, as well. So thank you. The document that we have before us is a result of consultation in the community which took place from the 13th of January to the 17th of February. And we heard from about 130 people from across the city, with a pretty decent spread across the various suburbs in the city as well. So it was important to have that spread of views geographically. It's so important that laws, in this case our local law, continue to evolve, deal with emerging issues and keep up with community expectations. So thank you to everyone who participated in the consultation and the survey. Just to pull out some results of those of that consultation, we can see some of the amendments that have been made since the draft went out to consultation. There's no clock again, but that's okay. Yep. I'll wrap it up soon. Well, one important one that I've pulled out is a recognition of smoking ceremonies and similar on-country burnings as a qualification on the clause relating to open-air burning. Changes to rules relating to when you can put your bins out, which generated a lot of interest in the community, and another one that generated a lot of interest in the community was using recreational vehicles on private land. So I think the consultation went really well, and I thank the officers for responding to that consultation. Of course, the current one expires in June. We now go to through a statutory process, including independent legal review, before it becomes our local law after that. So I wish it all the best going through that process, and I commend the motion to the chamber.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak?
I'll reserve my right.
Okay. Do we still have Councillor Greco?
Okay.
Okay. Are there any councillors who want to speak in opposition? No? Any councillors who'd like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So just to pick up a couple of things, I guess, yeah, this item may come across as dry or unimportant to some people, but it is actually crucial for the effective operating of our community. Item 2 outlines the requirement that we are meeting in the Local Government Act, so it's, it's very prescriptive. But basically what it does is it gets us to the next phase of consultation. As Councillor Arturi mentioned, we did have quite a significant amount of people engage with the first round of community consultation, which is, from what I understand from hearing about others, quite unusual in this space. So I do thank the community for their engagement to date. And I hope that they will engage with this second round as well. And hopefully we land somewhere that serves us all really well. So for me, I think what this does is it gives us hope for a good way ahead for the community, contemporises where we're at, and then once we get to the point of hopefully having the laws in place, we get the new manager and the team working to deliver those for the community, and hopefully, they make sense for us all, but where there are breaches, we then enforce properly and hold people to account for the things that we've collectively said we don't want to happen in Darebin. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Okay. If there's no further debate, then I will put this item to the vote. So all of those in favour, please raise your hand. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We're going to have a 10-minute adjournment so we can try and see if we can get on top of these IT issues. So we will be... Do I need a motion? I have a procedural motion for that, please.
Yep.
Councillor Salkos. Was that a seconder? Yes, and all in favour. So it's Councillor O'Brien, second. All in favour? Councillor Boglis? Thank you. Okay, 10-minute break, which means we will be back at 7:46.
I'll send you a message, Councillor Greco, because you'll get booted out. So we'll get you back in again. Thanks.